I'm here once again at my friend Deacon's shop, SpeedDeaconʻs, in Kaneohe, Hawaii. And by the way, the shop will soon be moving. More on that later. But the big news is the Flathead chopper, which is now on the rack right here, is my build. I was able to sell my victory and took the money quick as a bunny rabbit and ran over here and begged Deacon to sell me this project. And he agreed on that with one condition. I can pick a few things, but he's building the bike. Yeah, deal. So let's talk to Deacon about what he has in store for this bike.
What we got here is a traditional chopper. We've got a Sportster tank on it. This is a later one. It didn't come until a little bit later. They made them bigger because they needed more fuel, but it still has a traditional shape. The frame is an actual 63 frame. It has the arc for the tank here. It was cut off and was a swing arm, and the hardtail was welded to the back as a kit. So this was a hardtail kit that was welded to the back. And the front legs are called FXWG. These are actually designed by Harley for their dual disc front end on the very first Softail Customs. And we went with the small headlight, traditional again. This is what I call my Indian Larry bar. Although he didn't create this bar, it was one of his favorite bars, and he was one of my favorite person. We've got these billet controls on here, and we don't want this kind of billet stuff. So we're throwing that out, and we're going with a traditional steel type on both sides that what you would see on an FL bike, and they're just converted with a peg. And the wheels have been powder coated and stainless spokes in it. We've got an old Dean Moon style tank for the oil and an old bobber style seat. And this seat, because of his butt, we're gonna move this a little bit and make it a little more comfortable for him. And he wanted a rack for his equipment. So I'm gonna alter the rack, set it up straight, bring it down, alter it down, and give him a rack for his camera equipment. And then we've got the brakes. I didn't want a regular PM brake, so I found a PM brake that was made in 1967 from PM. They're now making these into retro style, but this is an original. I've been saving a couple for projects like Andy. And so we're mocking up the bike, and I'm looking for a place for oil filter and where things can lay out and be smooth. Next is the pipes and how we lay the pipes out. This is the process of a bike that a lot of people don't do. They just buy a bunch of parts and then they put them together and they go, damn, that bike is ugly. Well, what we're doing here is we lay it out and we get a feel for it. And sometimes you sit and you drink a beer and sit on a stool and you just look at the bike and you go, you know, that just isn't right. So you add something to it. I'll tape it, I'll hang it on it, like this bike here. I'm hanging parts and pieces and putting it to where it gets to, the bike starts to talk to you. And then when the bike says, hey, this is what I want to look like, and that's what I stay with. If something stands out, it doesn't look right, then I take it off and I put something else on it. And that's why it takes me a while to get a good bike. But when I build them, everybody knows that they're mine, and they usually stand out, and everything I build has my name on it. And this is a beautiful bike. They're very, very rare UL motors. They've gotten to a point where they're right up there with knuckleheads when it comes to cost. And the bikes, the UL was the same exact bike as the knucklehead, but the only difference was the tanks for clearance and the motors. So they would pull the UL motors out and put knuckleheads and change the tanks and double the price of the bike. So now the UL motors are hard to come by, and they have a lot of torque, and they'll keep up with most bikes out there. They have no problem pulling the H3 at 80 miles an hour, and I've done it myself on one. So I think he's got a really good project here, and I'm really happy to build it for him.